Hi, I'm Dr. Dyan Haspel-Johnson, and it's time for a weekly sleep tip. You know, right now, with all the things that are going on in the world and all of the difficulties and stress, a lot of people are asking me, how can I sleep? How do I deal with understanding what's going on and the complexities of it and the emotion of it without being consumed by it, without being so disturbed by it that it disturbs sleep and mood and all these other things. And you know, I was very fortunate in that back in 2001, I was doing a postdoctoral at UCLA's Behavioral Medicine Clinic. I think I've maybe spoken a little bit about that before when I've spoken about mindfulness, but I was very fortunate in that I had the opportunity through my supervisor to go see Thich Nhat Hanh for the first time. And for those of you who don't know, Thich Nhat Hanh was one of the greatest teachers of compassion and loving kindness and mindfulness along the lines of the Dalai Lama. And so I saw Thich Nhat Hanh first in 2001. I saw him speak, and he talked about how we consume the emotions of the things that we eat. So if an animal, for example, is kept in fear during its lifetime, and then you eat that animal, you're consuming that fear, that anger, whatever that emotion is, the life of that animal. And he also spoke about consumption in terms of what we read and what we watch. What he said was that if an article, for example, is written with hate, with fear, with anger, with prejudice, and we read that article, or we watch that news clip, or we read that social media post, or watch that reel, and it's written with hate, or anger, or fear, or frustration, or prejudice, we are taking that in, we are consuming that. And he spoke about how dangerous that is to take that into your psyche and consume that, because it goes into your body, it goes into your mind, it goes into your emotions, and you're carrying it and you don't always know where that comes from. So what he was saying was, be very careful about what you take in. And I was very fortunate to hear that at the time that I heard that, because 5 days later was 9/11. The terrorist attacks on the United States. And I was horrified. I watched the clips, the news, for about 2 hours, and finally remembered what Thich Nhat Hanh had said. And I realized that what terrorists want, what people, a lot of these people unfortunately want, is for us to consume that hate, those emotions, those experiences of what they're feeling. And so when we watch these things over and over again, when we read these posts and these articles that might seem like they're presenting us with facts, that's how we sort of maybe justify it to ourselves. But if you read them, most of the time what you see is that the people who are filming them, posting them, writing these articles have their own points of view and their own fears and their own anger and their own hate, and often, unfortunately, their own prejudices. And so when we take those things in, we are consuming those things, and it spreads the seed of poison in us. And with 9/11, after about 2 hours of watching it in shock and horror, I remembered what Thich Nhat Hanh said, and I walked away. I went to the park. Then I came back a couple of hours later. I checked to see, I asked my husband, has anything else happened? No, nothing else had happened. He was still sitting there watching because it was so horrifying. And I thought, I can't keep taking this in. And I walked away. And then I would turn on the news for 5 minutes, maybe every 2 hours. And I found that nothing new was happening, but they were just showing the same clips over and over. Now, we're in a different situation now, where a lot of the events that are happening in a lot of different countries, in Ukraine, in Israel and Gaza, there were things that were happening in Azerbaijan. There are a lot of things happening in the world, things happening throughout the United States, things happening in Europe, in Australia. And these things, when we watch them, we are consuming that energy, that sentiment, and that disturbs our sleep, that disturbs our psyche. That actually has an impact for many years to come, maybe for lifetimes. And so I would suggest to you, coming from the wisdom that I got from Thich Nhat Hanh, you can stay informed, but don't watch those things over and over again. Don't read those articles. And it's very difficult to resist the urge. But you can read a headline and also know that the news feed, the social media feeds that you're getting are following algorithms and are presenting you with information that is in a certain perspective. So I would suggest doing a meditation, doing a prayer, doing Reiki, doing whatever it is that you feel like you can do to send love and light and healing to all of the people and all of the land that needs our support and needs our love. And be careful about what you consume. So focusing on having conversations that are about other things that bring love into the equation, and reading things and watching things that are loving, I think will help you to sleep better at night. I know it helps me to sleep better at night. All right, so sweet dreams.